Okay, let's continue. So now we are at the second point in the program, an overview of the teachers training or TOT. And we will look at the 2 to 3 weeks TOT, how the schedule looks like. And we have 2 different schedules that you can look at here today. And one is the 2 weeks training. An example, we had a training with Anglican Church in Myanmar. And an example of the 3 weeks training, we have a schedule from Russia that we had in November 2012. So if you can just go to those papers. The Russia one looks like this, and the Myanmar one looks like this. We didn't have the time to stample the papers, so that's why they are a little bit hard to find. You have a lot of papers there. But Christina comes here with some stamplers, so you can stample. Have you found them? Okay, so the reason why we have 2 weeks, 3 weeks training is that when you work with maybe church people, people working from organizations, they prefer daytime training. And they want to have it more compressed. You can do it in 2 weeks. When the majority of the teachers that we're going to train are businessmen, they prefer evenings because they're working daytime. Now, there can be some changes to the schedule. Maybe we can compress the 3 weeks to a shorter schedule and so on. We are just about to shape everything. Everything is not fixed yet. So that's why it will probably be not exactly as you can see it. But let's look at the 2 weeks training first. You see, we are training from 8 in the morning to 5:30 in the afternoon. It's very intensive. 4 lessons per day. We were training people who have never gone to the business school, any kind of business school, so that's why we went through it very thoroughly. We actually did the whole course with them in 2 weeks. That's why it was so intensive. The 3 weeks training we have for the businessmen, we are shortening the lessons a little bit. We just spoke about right now, and maybe doing like that. We have the first lessons in each block. We teach the whole lesson, so they get the feeling how it is to be a student, and we set the standard we want them then to follow. And then the other lessons, everybody's looking at their papers. Are you listening to me?
Yes.
I'm saying very important stuff right now. Okay, so the other lessons, we usually maybe we just swipe through the lesson and giving them the big pictures of the lesson. So if it's a 1.5 lesson, maybe we teach 20 minutes of that lesson. Go through the big ideas, and we'll probably also make a material for you who are a teacher. So to give you very clear instructions how you can teach, and give some comprising of the reason why we teach this lesson. What are the things that we want to address? What are the issues we want to address with this lesson? What's the reason why we have this lesson? Maybe also summarizing it in 3 points. And then we are giving time for them. If you look at the Russian lesson here, it says interaction, session 2. Interaction, session 1 and 2, and so on. That then we use maybe half an hour just to listen to them, what they say about the lesson. What is the cultural adaptations or the issues they have with the things we teach. Like you can come to a country and we speak about integrity, and maybe we don't even have the word integrity. And that's quite, exposing of the weakness of the culture. because they don't have certain words. Like when we were in Russia, they didn't have the word integrity. Somebody told me when I was in Africa, there is many African countries, there is no word as a future. They don't have the word for future. It means that it's not part of their concept. That's quite interesting. So that's why it's also important that you speak with them about the teaching, about the issues, or what the things that we are bringing up, and why, how should they introduce, how should they angle it when they speak about these topics. And it's not only they that learn a lot, you learn a lot also. So that's why. So let's say we see here we have what should I say? Day 2 in Russia. Day 2, Tuesday, 2nd of November. Seed 1, 7 to 8:15. So we teach that lesson. Then 8:15 to 9:15. It's lesson number 2, and then you see this interaction for about 15 minutes, but it's going to be longer. We changed it when we actually were there, but so if you have 1 hour, 1.5 hour, so maybe you teach a lesson 20, 25 minutes, maybe up to half an hour, and maybe you teach maybe 20 minutes, and then you have 10 minutes sharing the reason why behind and the summarizing, and then maybe you use half an hour and speak about what we've been talking about. And of course it depends on the situation. Maybe you can teach more, especially in the beginning we teach more. And the longer course go, the more we discuss, and also we are learning to know each other and so on. Okay, do you have any questions on the schedule? We are doing it, here we see that we're doing it every day. Maybe we do some changes for Sundays, maybe. Well, up to now we have been doing Sundays as well, but we are definitely doing Saturdays.
May I just give a comment? As I'm just coming from teachers training in Swaziland.
Yes.
And the principles are the same, but there's one thing that's a little bit different. That's we gave them the students' guide from the 3 first blocks. And after that they got the teacher's guide. And then they became teachers, and the students who should become teachers, they had to teach. They had to study themselves and to take part in teaching.
I'm coming to that later. Yeah. Any question on the schedule? Because I'm going to how we different stages of the weeks also. Okay. Then we have what we call tankar kring lärarhandledning. It's these papers. It's if you look into the second parts of the first page, there's a plan how we the strategy of the week. Number 1, present yourself. Tell them something about yourself and your background. Teach on the history of Focus Business School. That was a PowerPoint I just showed. And the thoughts behind Focus Business School. And do the introduction lesson. So it's the background and the introduction lessons. That's laying the foundation. Okay? Number 2, teach block 1 to 4. Show them how the material is how the material looked like. Let them look at the 4 documents, how the PowerPoint works together with the teacher's guide, how the study guide looks like, the homework. Discuss the examples in the material, how it can be adapted to local circumstances. This is actually, when we are coming to a place, usually they have already done all the examples in the text are always contextualized, and we'll let them do the contextualization. So, but maybe there's something, if that is not done, we can have some ideas, because they are the one that are going to put in the examples in the text. And if it's already there, maybe they have some ideas that, no, this is really a bad example, it's not good, so maybe you can have some communication with the people who have done the examples. But anyway, we speak about how this relates to the local context. We go through the handbook, and we will go through the handbook later today, but we go through all the points in the handbook, and the teacher's checklist was also in the handbook. Block 5, they can have some feedback on what you're thinking about the course so far. Point 4 here, from block 6 and forward, we are letting them teach themselves, just as Leif mentioned here that they did in Swaziland. We are letting the students teach themselves, and we give them feedback. And we let the other people in the group also give feedback. You had quite a pretty big group. You had 20 times 2. Was it 40 people altogether? 20 each?
One group of 10, one of 11.
Okay, so it was small group.
21.
Okay, that was small groups, okay. Because sometimes in some places it can be groups of 50 or 70. So maybe we can only let 3-4 people teach the whole lesson and giving feedback. And maybe we can look later on that they can be in small groups and they can teach between each other. So everybody got the opportunity to teach. And then we get some guidelines how to get feedback according to how we want them to be teachers. And that you actually have up here, the teacher's checklist, is a kind of a guideline how to give feedback, how they should be teaching the lessons. Okay. During the process, in the beginning when we come there, these people are unknown for us, and we are unknown for them. So in the beginning it's a little bit formal. We are teaching the whole lessons. We are learning to knowing the people during the days. And after a while, maybe when we come to, I don't know, lesson 15 or 20 or something, it's very important we start to speak about the attitudes of the teachers towards the students, and that we reflect around the local culture and maybe some worldly aspects that there can be in each culture. Some cultures have a lot of problem with corruption, other cultures have problem with that they feel very much above if they are richer, and they despise their customers and so on. So we have a discussion, what can be your problem, especially when we come into honesty, integrity, we come into service mind, that there's some reflections. What could be your problem? Hard work with laziness. Usually when we come into these character topics, there comes a lot of discussions on the attitudes. And let them also reflect, let them share what they see as their problems in their culture. Also try to emphasize that to be a Christian is not a handicap in business. Many people think, I'm a Christian, it's a handicap because I cannot cheat that other people cheat. Okay, in that sense, it's a disadvantage. But you have a lot of advantages of your honesty, trustworthiness, your service attitude. All these things are your strong sides. And really, emphasizing to them and to understand that to be a Christian is not a disadvantage in business, but is an advantage in many ways. So don't come, with that underdog mentality, that I have a handicap because I'm a Christian. Also, we're coming into process, we're learning to know these people. Let the teacher become aware of their own, how they are affected by worldliness also. Because it's very important, because when you come with the business school, you have a picture of what the Focus Business School is, that we have given you here. that we have transferred to you. Then you meet these people and they have a complete another picture of what the business school is. There's another picture of what we have because they have not made a journey yet. So it's very important that we all the time try to reflect and have this interaction to understand what's in their hearts, what's in their minds, so we can put inside of them the DNA of the Focus Business School and the attitudes of the Focus Business School. I mean, someplace we have come, there's an attitude, you know, that is only the millionaires that are really something that's really interesting. But we say, you know, it's the marginal effect of the people. If a poor widow has a small stall selling chicken and she can pay the school fees of her children and pay her rent and get a livable situation, I mean, that's a miracle for us. Yeah. It is as big as somebody becoming a millionaire. And these kind of, you know, attitudes are the thing that we want to transfer to the teacher because they're going to set the standard in the school. And that's why it's so important that we come close to them so we can work with these attitudes. And we also said that we want to meet about once every half year. We meet together as all the teachers and we also share giving you some updates, what's happening, but also that there is this where we can be together and we can share what we have met and put into your heart so you really understand what the Focus Business School is so you can represent for others. Because when you go out and have a TOT, you are setting the standard for the Focus Business School in that nation. So it's very important that you are really saturated with the DNA of the Focus Business School. And that we can transfer it to the one running the school in our church. Number 6, let the teachers' team start to organize themselves after each other's competences and skills. Who should do what? Which one is the most suitable for a certain lesson and activity? Who has the right to take decisions in certain questions? And which question needs to have a common decision? And so on. So there's a process of creating the team. Block 7 to 9, we want the people who are coming to doing the TOT, we really want them to be businessmen who can act as role models for the teachers. People who are successful in business and have a big heart for God. So they can look at these role models. We used to also say, you can see here is what we call stage 1, 2, 3, 4 here in red letters. And that's the stage of the group process. Stage 1, everybody is very polite and a little bit reserved. And here we need to be very directive and show the material, encourage the conversation, discussions, putting up goals and activities that they need to do. Stage 2, after this facade of politeness, the conflicts start to come up. We really start to discuss the school, how to run it and so on. There's different ideas. One person saying this, another one is that, and it start to come some prestige and a positioning against its other and so on. And usually that comes at block 4 and 5. People are sort of positioned, especially if there's some interaction between them. If it's a very big group, maybe that's very hard, but if it's smaller groups. And we need to help the group to unite on the goals and activities and attitudes that they need to have. And when we are going through that can be a very tough stage with the group. We need to come into stage 3, and that is to organize around their competencies and their skills. So, and here we're letting them more and more decide who's going to take which lesson, how we're going to run the school, how we're going to put up the marketing and so on. So we have to help them become a united and strong team together. So you usually see these 3 stages with the group when we teach, when we have this TOT training. Let me see if there is something else. you have any questions? Also, what we do is like if we have a three weeks training, we usually have three different persons or groups of people coming down. So one person takes the first week, which is usually I think if from lesson 1 to 13 or something like that, or 14, and then the second week is lesson 15, 16 to 29 or something. And the third week, there's another person coming doing the lesson. What lesson did you have in Russia? From which lesson? Remember?
From 26? No.
No, 30 something.
Yeah.
I think it was 37 or something. 39 or, yeah. Anyway, so if you are traveling to do a week, you will only have one of these three big, as I said, teacher blocks, not mix it with the block of the 9 blocks in the school, but these 3 blocks when we do a TO3. So if let's say that you have block 3, the last one, the last week, then you really need to get into the material, really need to know the material, all the lessons, read through them, taught them to yourself a couple of times. You have to go through when we do the instructions for the teachers, what you need to emphasize, the reason why we have this lesson and so on. And you also need to get into this program here to understand where probably they will be in the process. So let's say you're doing the third week, we will have at least 2 or 3 opportunities when they are teaching themselves. You have to act as do some assessment on how they're teaching. If you're doing the first week, you have to do not only the lessons, you're going to also go through the handbook and explaining the whole school. And so the first week is always people who are very well known, very well acquainted with the material, and have a long experience of the Focus Business School. Second week, the second and the third stage is where we can have people who have not been working a very long time with us, but still know what they're talking about. Is something else at this point? Okay, then let's look at the material. This is the binder. And we usually have a smaller binder that they can have and put in the papers in here. If the binders are very expensive in the country and people are quite poor, we can have other kind of practical solutions for them to where to put the study guides and the homework. But we can look at the lessons. Oh, let me see here. Let's take lesson 4, for instance. Here we have the teacher's outline. You have 3 columns here. Here's the text. You see where it's red, a little bit red text, that's subtitles. You can make notes here. And here you have stars. The red stars means that there's a new slide. A blue star means that there's a click. So you know that within this slide there is 4 clicks, including the new slide. So in that sense, you don't have to think about where I'm going to text, when I'm going to click. So this is a help for you. You also have here discussions. One slide is a discussion. Discussion, red star, and a blue text, a discussion. And here you have discussion, the questions that you're discussing. You have extra material. A few lessons I will call extra material. And and that is some extra teaching. If you have time, just give me some examples, or like here we have an example on what leverage is, some extra material on interest, why we have interest and so on, what the Bible says about interest. So you can look at these lessons and the teacher's guide there. Here's the extra. Here is the study guides. The study guide is a miniature picture of the PowerPoint and then some extra text. The reason why we have study guides is that most people are quite poor in taking notes. And it's hard for them to concentrate on taking notes and listening at the same time. So if you start to take notes, they are forgetting what the teaching is saying. They're not concentrating on that, and they will lose it. So that's why we have pre-printed notes, so they can concentrate on listening. And there's one column here where they can take notes, or we can also tell them in the place where they're going to have to run the business school is that they can have a lined paper in the back where they can take extra notes. The reason why we have study guides is also that it's very much easier to share. You can look at it. It's very much easier to share the teaching with others when you have the pre-printed notes. So they can share with their family members. So let's say, for instance, that the wife is going to Focus Business School and the husband is not. And the wife really understands, okay, this is what I need to, this is how to do a budget. I need to save money. But the husband has a completely other mindset. He want to go and just spend his money at the tea shop or the bar or something. So the tension becomes bigger in the family. But if they can take the teaching and share with their husband, he will start also to come into the same mindset as the wife, and they can move forward together. We also see that many people use that material as outline to teach maybe in the cell group or in the church. And in that way, the teaching get a bigger audience. It's spreading. So I think we had at least double or even four double the number of people we reached through the business school, just through all the students teaching it to others after the Saturday class. And they use the study guide as their outline. So it's really helping the material to spread. Then we have the homework. And the homework is to be done during the school week and be handed in the coming Saturday. And that is, they're learning how to apply the teaching into their situation. It's very important. Some people are lazy in doing the homework, and we maybe need to find some ideas how to motivate people so everybody's handing in the homeworks. But it's very important. They're not just listening, but they're also processing and digesting and understanding how to apply this in my situation. And that's where the homework is a very good tool. Okay. Any question on the material?
Maybe I should just say that for our teaching we have made compendiums. 3 compendiums for the whole course. One for teacher's guide, And another one for the student's guide, including homework.
Does it become cheaper?
Yeah, that becomes.
Is it that's why you did it in Mozambique, or?
Yeah, that's one of the main reason. But even it's easy to hand out these, and then you know that they have got everything and it's in order. If it's in a file, they can take out the paper. Then things happen in Africa.
Yeah, yeah. The reason why we had it in files was that everybody became more motivated to come on the Saturday, because it was like, okay, I have the paper. Today I have a little bit back pain, so I stay home. So if they didn't come, they didn't get the lesson. So that's why we have given them each lesson when they are coming to the school. But I don't know, maybe that was not a problem in Mozambique, or okay, good.
How's about translation?
Yes.
Do you have it in English, or do you take it in, for example, Rwanda, you're going to take it in their language also? Or?
We're always trying to translate into the local language. So there are, let's see, we have Russia is Russian, Sri Lanka, what do you call it? Lankese. Yeah, Sinhala. In Burundi, it is French, and they also translate into local language Kirundi. In Rwanda, we will use maybe even three languages: English, French, and Kinyarwanda. But they were most interested in having it in the local language because the target group is a grassroots people. So, and they said some people are not good enough in English nor in French.
But when we are educated teachers,
Yes.
we have to do it in English.
Yes. We have to do it in English.
Or we do it in both.
No,
The students have their language.
No, I mean, if you're coming like to Russia, we had an interpreter there.
Yeah.
If you're doing in Burundi, we have an interpreter in French. In Mozambique, we have an interpreter in Portuguese. So that just gives half the time.
Only in Sweden. We can go Swedish.
Yes, only in Sweden and Åland. Okay. Maybe when you go through the text and you read home, there will come more questions. I sent you the text before. Any reflections? Any ideas? Okay, let's take a 20 minutes break. And Bengt-Åke has some fikabröd för oss.